Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for July 18th, 2023. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If Joshua Hollinger with Bridgepoint Church could open us up in prayer. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up is a public hearing, resolution to establish the role for Bedford Drive's Road Special Assessment District. Look for a motion to open the public hearing. Motion to open the public hearing. Okay, motion supported. Call the roll.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janicek? Aye. Or is absent? Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Berger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, at this time, if anybody would like to come up and speak about Bedford Drive, now would be the time to do so.
My name is Catherine Gerst. I live at 1065 Bedford Drive. I'm here tonight to protest this resurfacing of Bedford Drive and to protest the cost of this project. I know this amount will create a hardship for the homeowners on this street. Is there anything that can be done to stop this project right now? No? It's not possible to have a second survey of the homeowners? Really? I know not everyone had the chance to get to remove their name off of this list.
This is public comment. You guys can comment, but we just got to keep it at that, and we'll answer the questions and into the...
Okay, let's see, where was I? I can deal with the damages caused from years of the building of the new subdivisions around Bedford Drive. It's unfair that this road was used as the access to build those new homes. And now we have to pay for the damages and deterioration of this road. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Russell Drennan of 1055 Bedford Drive, and I received the petition from, I think the guy's name's Frank. He came by and just basically had a paper with lines on it, said, are you interested in finding out the cost of the road to be repaved? I said, absolutely, the road absolutely needs repaved. We had no idea the cost was going to be this much. My wife came to take our name off of the list. She was told she couldn't take the name off the list because her name's not on the deed. I bought the house before we were married. I think everybody agrees the road needs repaved, but I think the price is insane. And I'm curious on how many quotes you receive and who the interest is paid to.
Karen Welch at 1413 Bedford Drive. I'm here to protest this also in regards to a couple of months ago, I was asked to sign a petition for the road work to get some pricing. I said no. I initially said no because I knew it would be costly and I wasn't interested in it. Well, my neighbor sweet talked me into signing the petition, and under the premise that I was signing it only merely to get pricing on the road work. That's all I was signing. So a couple weeks later, I get a letter in the mail stating that blah, 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 but I see at the very end, you can come into the township and remove your name from the list if you should desire. So I called the township and I said, what is this letter about? Is this saying that I voted when I signed this petition? They said, yes, that was considered a vote. I don't know how that turned into a vote, me signing a petition. And why would I sign a petition when there wasn't even a cost for the project at that time? So I don't feel like this whole thing, I feel like it was rammed down my throat, and I don't feel like it was fair at all. And so anyhow, I came over here, I removed my name from the petition. I talked to a few other neighbors that tried to remove their name from the petition, but they couldn't because they weren't on the deeds or they were at work or whatever their reasonings were. But here's my thing. These people would never have signed the petition had they known that their signature was going to be turned into a vote. I just think that is so, it's trickery. It's closing the deal. You guys closed the deal on us, and I don't think it was fair. Now, it's my understanding that it's the road commission that does this paperwork and whatever. So whether it's on them or the township for this happening, I don't know. But I think the fair thing would be to give us another vote, because some of us did not know we were even voting. And then you guys just sit there and shake your heads no, and you have the chance to remove your name from the petition. I don't think it's fair. And so do a lot of other people not think it's fair.
Hello, my name is April Kipp. I live at 1095 Bedford Drive. I think we're all saying the same words. We were told it was a petition. I FOIA'd what the petition supposedly said on the first page. We'd never seen this. Anybody see this? Thank you. So we were deceived. Not, I don't think on purpose, and that's why we're asking for you guys to reconsider.
Anybody else like to speak?
John Cobb, 1271 Bedford. I protest also. Thank you.
Libby Kazarowski, 1421. Did you guys count the people that aren't on the deed that signed a petition that didn't have a legal right to? Because technically, if you can't take your name off, you can't put your name on. So if you're counting votes for people that aren't on the deed, those votes shouldn't be counted. Because if you don't have legal ownership of that house, it's okay to sign for it, but it's not okay to take your name off against it.
She'll answer when it's comment time.
And there again, A petition is not a vote. No one here is happy about this. A lot of us don't have a lot of money, and this would be like buying a timeshare and not knowing how much you're paying. Who's going to sign for something when you have no idea of what it's going to cost? Nobody in their right mind would do that. And it wasn't presented appropriately, so we can't make an appropriate determination and a vote when all we wanted to do was check out what it would cost. That's it. That's not a vote. That's not a vote according to our forefathers, and this isn't the way that this country is supposed to be run. It's supposed to be run by a vote. We're starting to turn into our capital. This is not right. Something has to be done. We can't just be doing whatever we want and letting one person that maybe he knew exactly what was going on here and maybe he didn't, but it didn't matter. No one here would sign a petition that gave you guys free rein to charge whatever you wanted to fix our road. No one in here is crazy. No one in here is happy. We've all lived in this township for a very long time. I went to school here. I've lived here my whole life. This is not right.
Okay, any more comments? Okay. Going once? Okay. Motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
Okay, motion.
Support.
Supported by Ms. Januzak. Any discussion? Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, Ms. Hirschberger, you going to answer some of the questions as well?
I don't know if, Phil, you want to talk to it at all?
I can start. So there's no doubt the board understands how you feel about this. I understand how you feel about this. I will tell you that these types of petitions are provided for by Public Act 188 of 1954. A petition for a road improvement can be initiated by either the record owners of land within the special assessment district, which in your case would be the owners of parcels, the record owners of parcels on Bedford Drive. And if it's initiated by the landowners, which it was, then a petition has to be circulated, has to be signed by registered landowners of more than 50% of the linear frontage on Bedford Drive within that special assessment district. That happened. A petition was circulated. I've looked at the petition. I've been involved in many of these. And the language of the petition contains the language that's required by Public Act 188 of 1954. So your neighbors who were in favor of this development, this improvement to Bedford Drive, were able to obtain petition signatures by more than 50% of the linear frontage. So I can't comment on whether people were deceived or not deceived. The township has to look at the petition on its face and determine the sufficiency of the petition, and it's a sufficient petition. Then Trudy Hirschberger, our clerk, has to look and make sure that those who sign the petition are actually the registered landowners of the parcels represented on that petition. That determination is made by who the record landowners are on the date the petition is submitted to the township at the Register of Deeds office in Monroe County. So one lady asked, well, if more than, and it may have been a situation where there might have been, say for instance, for example, a husband and wife, both of them signed, but only one was a registered landowner. It doesn't matter if both signed, but to withdraw that petition that was signed by husband and wife when it only needed to be signed by husband, for example, only the husband could then withdraw that petition because he was the registered landowner at that time. So you could have 10 people sign as long as the owner of record signed it.
We've got to just keep it, because the public can't hear you for one thing.
So
We're going to answer the questions. Go ahead.
So I don't want anybody to believe that the township deceived you. The township didn't deceive you. The township only responds to the petition. If a petition is brought and it's signed by the registered landowners of more than 50% of the linear frontage within the special assessment district, then the township will process the petition, and there will be the required public hearings under Public Act 188 of 1954. Public Act 188 of 1954 is a little different in that when the petition is originally circulated, nobody's really going to know what ultimately the cost of the improvement will be. That comes later. When you sign that petition, you're signing saying, I want this public improvement, and if more than 50% of my neighbors sign on to this, that's what the law states. I'm telling you what the law states. You can shake your head, but that's what the law states. And that's, call it what you want, that's what the township has to follow. They have to follow the law. And so a valid petition was submitted. It contained the necessary signatures. The public hearings were held. You were given the opportunity to withdraw your name. Some of you didn't. Some of you did. There still remain more than 50%, so it goes on and it's processed, and now we're on the way, and it can't be called back because Public Act 188 of 1954 doesn't allow for it to be called back once those petitions are submitted. So did I answer? Are there any other questions that maybe I didn't answer?
Hold, guys, you can't talk from the audience. The public hearing's over, and the public can't hear you even if you are talking.
How many quotes did you receive? If it's one, you might as well cancel this meeting right now. That's a joke.
Guys.
That's a joke.
The quoting is through the township engineer and the road commission. The road has to be improved under the direction and control of the Monroe County Road Commission.
They're the reason it's in the shape it's in.
Well, we can debate that all day.
I videotaped them at midnight.
Hey, you got to stop talking from the audience.
And rolling it over.
Listen, you got to stop talking from the audience. We gave you the chance to talk at the public comment. Listen, we can't do this,
How many
guys.
quotes and how much? Where's the interest paid to?
Do you want to answer that? Do you have the information
That was
to answer
one of the
that?
questions that
It
was
was
asked.
one of the questions.
Listen, you got to stop, or I'm going to stop the meeting.
It's a joke anyway. It's a joke anyway.
Listen, we're doing
I'm
our
trying to
job.
explain to you that we're
What do you mean
following the
we're
law.
Following the law, just like you just stated.
How many quotes did you receive? One.
Well, if you stop talking and let her talk, she would give you the answer.
So the estimate that comes in is by the engineer. It won't be bid out until the Monroe County Road Commission takes it over. Then they take bids. Those are all public. We share them on the website. You can go there and see the opening. That won't happen until probably winter, probably late winter, early spring. That's when the bids get done.
So who would agree to something that's, you don't know the cost of? No one would agree to that.
Listen,
More than 50% of your neighbors did agree to it.
the time to put them out to bid is winter time, because that's the best time to put projects out for bid, is winter time.
Would you buy
So
a car
I-
if they said
Okay,
it might be
all right.
$50,000?
Anybody else have any comments or questions to it?
I'm just trying to answer.
Okay, could keep answering the question. You just got to keep going.
Okay, so more than 50, all the signatures matched. There were some denied. There were some people that signed that weren't on deed owners. Those were denied. We still had over 51% signatures were coming off and signatures were going on this entire time until the actual meeting happened. At that point, we still had over 50%, so it came to the board and we approved it because it was over 50%. This process is just to approve the amount that was estimated. That amount was $9,600 a parcel. but the bids will go out, and that could always change. It could go down, it could go up to 10% higher. But right now, we are just the facilitator. We are not the actual project engineer. That will be the Monroe County Road Commission. It's their project. They own the roads. Unfortunately, you have to pay if you want them, but they are in charge of them.
Okay, anybody
So
else have any comments?
I think that's all the questions. We borrow the money to keep the price down, so there's no bonding charge. The interest is what we would get if we kept this money in a CD or anything like that. We don't charge any more than what we would actually get. If it comes down to it next year, when the prices are bid out, if the interest goes down, it will go down. The max it will be is 4% like you were quoted. So that could happen. I can tell you out of the last 3 SADs, the last 2 that came in actually went down and the people were refunded. So that's always a possibility also.
Okay.
So
Anybody else have
I
any
think that's,
So,
correct.
Yeah, if the cost exceeds 10%, it's dead.
Right, then it would stop.
so,
I know it'll come in at 9.9.
Okay, yeah.
well, the road commission puts it out for bid. This cost estimate is prepared by the engineer based on his or her knowledge and expertise of what these types of projects cost. They have a lot of knowledge regarding that. But then it's put out for public bid, and so there'll be multiple bids that come in that will be looked at by the road commission and determine who the successful bidder is. So, and if the bids come in high and they're more than 10% of the estimate that you've been provided, it's dead. It's dead. But if it's less than 10%, if there is an increase and it's less than 10%, the project goes on.
Any more comments from board members? Questions? Anything? I look for a motion.
Make a motion.
Keep moving forward.
Make a motion to approve the resolution establishing the Bedford Drive Special Assessment District role as presented. Support.
Okay, motion in support of Ms. Januzak. Any more discussion? Okay, just call the roll, please.
Ms. Trigger votes aye. Ms. Janusek?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner? Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, moving on to approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda is submitted.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Bruning. Any discussion? Okay, could you call the roll?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Ms. Janusek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Okay, item number 3 is a consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to approve and place on file A, minutes from the July 11th, 2023 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. B, general, savings, pooled funds, and CD reports from the treasurer for June 2023. And C, balance sheet and revenue expense report for the period ending June 30th, 2023.
Motion to approve the consent agenda is submitted.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Bruning. Any more discussion? Okay, could you call the roll?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janusek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. And presentations, we have Chief Deputy Pauly, Monroe County Sheriff's Department. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. Just got a few things. Reference the stats, and then I'm going to talk about a new law that just went into effect. I'm sure you're aware of that, and a little update on animal control. For the month of June, we handled a total of 701 calls for service. For contrast, we handled 789 for the month of May, which resulted in a total of 116 written case reports. And out of those reports, 12 were sent to the prosecutor's office for for requests for criminal charges. And I'm actually pretty happy to report the out of contract time was only one instance. It was for 5 5 hours, 5.25 hours, which is a little bit unusual. But I can tell you the call for service was a medical, was a CPR in progress. Our deputy got there, and while en route, the subject had passed away. So she ended up handling the death investigation, and then that's a typical. Takes about 3 to 5 hours to handle the death investigation report. I'm confident in telling you that some of that 5 hours was actually probably spent back in the township writing the report, but nonetheless, it was on a call for service that was outside Bedford. But again, I think it's a pretty great report to only have one instance, so we're pretty happy about that. So the new law, which is basically I guess the generic form of it is called the hands-free vehicle operation. So it's the Michigan compiled laws. It's 257.602B. So if anybody wants to look that up, it is MCL 257.602B. And basically what it means is you cannot hold your cell phone in your hand while you're operating the motor vehicle. A lot of people ask, what is operating a motor vehicle? It's while the car is under your control, which includes driving, but it also includes, being stopped at a stoplight, being stopped at a stop sign. By law, you cannot have it. You cannot hold it in your hand. I'm sure we've all seen this, many times before, where you're at an intersection or you're driving, passing somebody, and people got their phones in their faces, and we're all guilty of it. But the idea behind this law is to stop this. I know this is a wave across the country. I think I don't have the exact number of states who have passed this type law, but it's coming. So.
And it's just the cell phones.
Cell phone, electronic. I believe it's mobile. Well, I got it right here. Mobile electronic device does not. It excludes radio, a CB or an amateur radio. So I'm not sure why they excluded that, but they did. So probably for the truckers. But so yeah, it's a change. So as a result, we've decided to do kind of independent operations of targeting this type of activity. The law went into effect on June 30th. And in addition to Bedford, we also did this with Frenchtown Township because of the two most populous areas in the county. On June 30th, we were at Secor and Stearns. We had a total of 5 deputies participate in just a 2-hour window. So we took them off the road from handling calls for service. And what it is basically we had one person as a spotter in an unmarked car, and they would literally drive down the road and look for people who had a phone in their hand, and then they would call it out, and then there would be a police officer or a deputy, up the road, and they would pull them over. So that's kind of how the operation goes, and we're not afraid to, tell our trade secrets, because really what we just want is people not to look at their phone while they're driving. So 5 deputies, 1 spotter. We had a total of 5 citations for the new law, the hand-free vehicle operation law. 2 citations were for other traffic offenses, and we did issue out 4 verbal warnings. On July 7th, we did it again. We were at Secor and Stearns again. This time we had 4 deputies participate. Again, it was a 2-hour block, with one of those deputies being a spotter. And there was a total of 10 citations written for hands-free vehicle operation, 2 citations for other traffic offenses, and only 1 verbal warning that day. And I'll give you a little, a breaking news is we're going to do one tomorrow. We're going to be on Lewis Avenue between Smith and Stearns. So that stats will be to be determined. So if you're driving in the area, please keep your phone down. So do you have any questions on that?
I'm assuming under the operation of the vehicle, that does not include parked vehicles. Like parked and running is not
correct.
Part of operation.
If the easiest way to put it is if you're on the roadway,
okay.
Then and you're behind the yes, that would be operating the vehicle. Right. If you're on the roadway, but if you're off the roadway, that's perfectly fine. So as long as you're not moving and in the public roadway.
So I just wanted to verify.
Yep.
That's how you do a lot of your work.
So I do a lot of my work.
You'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So and finally, animal control. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the sheriffs are required to run animal control division, which we do. In addition to that, several years ago, the sheriff's office took over the shelter operation, which is really separate from animal control. Animal control basically is enforce, animal laws, dogs off leash, barking, all that stuff, bites, and even some criminal offenses. That would be animal control's area. So we're still going to do that, but we are in the process of kind of offloading the shelter operation, which is the care and the custody and the control of the animals. And the reason is just quite frankly, it's kind of out of our skill set. We're law enforcement. And so the Humane Society, actually tonight at the Board of Commissioners meeting in Monroe, they're going to vote on this tonight to turn over the operation to the Humane Society. So we're hopeful that happens. They're going to lease the building from the county for $1, I think, a year. I'm not exactly sure the terms. We will still have access to it, our animal control officers, because if we take a dog in the middle of the night or whatever, we'll have access to the building where we can, key our way in, put the dogs in a kennel and give them some food and water, and then the shelter will come in the morning, or the Humane Society will come in the morning and take care of the animals. So hopefully that goes through tonight. I was hoping to have an answer for you, but I talked to the sheriff who's at that meeting, and they're running a little behind. So usually those meetings go pretty quick, but not tonight for some reason. So other than that, that is all I have.
Yeah, I would just say with the lost dogs, it's unreal how many lost dogs are reported on the local Facebook pages.
Yeah.
I mean, 10, 15, 20 a day. It's insane.
Yeah,
It would be nice to do a campaign to get people to utilize the animal shelter site and, to really, so everybody's just going in one area to find their dogs. And
right. And that does happen. I mean, some of these dogs are chipped, obviously, and they have, tools to, hopefully identify who the dog is, or, hopefully they got a leash on with a collar. But yeah, that does happen a lot. I want to say our dog population is around 30 a day, and that could be a little higher, a little lower. I'm not really sure, but yeah, it fluctuates. And I can tell you, just last Friday, we took a total of 7 animals that were under kind of neglect. It's really kind of a sad situation as it was, but so in one night, your animal population can explode. In those cases, we would potentially farm them out to other kennels around the area that'll take the animals, because there's only so much space at the shelter. So
anybody else have any comments, questions?
I do. Unrelated to this, Paulie, but where are you guys at with the Telegraph Road hotels presentation and possible shutting down?
We're still enforcement. That's not changed. I can tell you, and I knock on some wood, things have, I think, calmed a bit, and I'd like to think that it was as a result of our effort. There's some other things that we're doing. We would like to push that presentation back a little bit, but I do have it. I could show you individually, but I'm just not prepared to publicly put it out at this point.
I don't know why it wouldn't help having law enforcement there hammering people on a regular basis. They tend to go away when you do.
Yeah, there was. I can tell you there was one owner was pleading with us to tell for us to tell him who are the quote unquote violators, and I'm like, it's a lot. I can't tell you who they are. I mean, it happens nightly. It was working, is working. So we're happy about that.
Anybody else?
Knock on wood.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Up next is comment from the public, and if actual Representative Wilbrook, if you want to start us out, you can have as much time as needed. Ms. King, give it a second. We're going to let Mr. Representative Brooks speak.
All right.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Supervisor Peroni and the board for being able to be here tonight. This will be my 13th in the last 3 weeks as far as going to different townships and presenting and reporting. So it's an honor to be here tonight, to be the state rep and to be able to get some interaction and hear what's going on in the township level, because there's a lot happening in the district. I will say, I also want to report, before I get onto some legislation things, that I was absent. Last October, I got placed on Title 10 active duty orders down at Fort Belvoir for the purpose of getting medically boarded out of the Army. It sounds real simple, but it's not. I had just returned just over a month ago, so there's a lot of people that are happy I'm back. No one is as happy as I am to be back, including my family, and to be with my children, my wife. So the last 5 weeks that I've been home, I was able to participate in session in Lansing for 3 weeks. Now, while on Title 10 orders, there were some things I could do, some things I could not do, so I like to put that up front, that while down at Belvoir, I was not allowed to vote or be involved in the session on the floor. But I was able to be involved in the committee work, so I sit on 3 committees: the Infrastructure, Transportation Committee, as well as the Insurance and Finance Committee, and then the Higher Education Committee. So I was able to Zoom in, but again, I could not vote in those committees, so I could ask questions, I could get feedback, I could make comments, but I was not allowed to vote during those committee meetings. But actually to be involved, though, was very, very helpful. If you haven't met my staffers, I know Mike Gotchka was down here for the Bedford event probably about 3 months ago, the Bedford Fair.
Trade fair.
Yeah, the trade fair. He's been in Lansing over 30 years. He was a state rep and a senator termed out, and then he spent the last 16 years as staffing. So he is my chief of staff up in Lansing, very qualified person. He's been in contact with a lot of people. Also, well, in Virginia, I was able to do a whole lot of calls and emails and stay connected wherever I could, and made a few turn and burns to come home and meet people and then go back. But thankfully, I mean, it's a little bittersweet, but I do officially retire July 27th, and that'll be 31 years, 4 months, and 17 days in the Army. So I'm glad. I say bittersweet, glad to be moving on. I actually go this Thursday for a retirement ceremony down there, and then I see my hip surgeon, which is another issue why I'm walking around in a cane. I had to get my hip replaced, so I'm going to see my hip surgeon next week and get a date. Hopefully it's in August, that's the hope, and then I can get that done and be back to walking normally again. But while up in session, last month, I was able to introduce a bill that got assigned to committee the last day we're in session, and that was Bill 4741, or actually 4845, my apologies. 4845 renames a portion of South Dixie after Captain Joseph Liedel. He was a firefighter with the Charter Township for 28 years, renaming the portion between Albin and Dunbar Road after him. That'll be my first bill. I sit on the Transportation Committee. I see that as not just honoring Captain Liedel, but all firefighters, people that serve our communities. I was able to co-sponsor on with Zorn's bill that renamed a portion of M50 after Darian Young, who was an animal control officer that passed away in 2020. And ironically, Captain Liedel was on scene for Darian Young's accident when she got hurt or got ran over there on M50 at a stop. But that will go through. I also sponsored another bill with Jamie Green. It was House Bill 4741, which made it to committee, and then it got, I think the technical term in Lansing is hijacked, so it became the majority party bill. I was the first Republican to co-sponsor onto that bill, but this affects every township within our district, actually within the state. And in 2012, a little background, the state passed a law where if you're a 100% disabled veteran, you don't pay homestead property taxes. This bill that we introduced, and now I'm a co-sponsor on, will reimburse municipalities for the loss of revenue from, rightfully so. I think it was a great bill, but there was a non-funded liability for every township in every city in the state. So this will refund municipalities for that loss of revenue. And I'm sure Bedford Township has a number. Every township I've been in has quite a few. Even a handful makes a big difference on the bottom line for the township. So this is a way that I can help our entire district. That will be taken up. It's been assigned to committee and will be taken up once we go back into session. And I believe it's late August. There's some play there on when we exactly go back. But people ask me, what do I do as a state rep?
When I'm not in session, well, I've been going to a lot of meetings and trying to do what I can to support the district. My job is not to be a politician. My job is to be a representative of the district. So I went to a township, not the township, but the City of Monroe meeting 2 weeks ago, and the issue was trains. There is a section of the retention wall that fell on Kentucky Avenue. If you've ever been on Kentucky Avenue, it's pretty ugly. It's about a 3 to 4 foot high concrete ugly barrier that holds up the railroad track. There's a 30-foot section that fell on a Friday night. The city was up at arms. They're trying to get a hold of Norfolk Southern. What do we do about this? They're contacting people, and the responses they were getting were less than desirable. Responses like, we'll slow down to 25 when we go through your city, which had the city council up at arms, rightfully so, with all the derailments and things. So immediately after the meeting, I called the director of the Michigan Railroad Association. He put me in contact with Herbert Smith, who's the government relations director for Norfolk Southern. I talked to him on the phone, and then I put him in contact with David Robinson, who's the city manager. They're talking now. They sent engineers down this last week, and they're talking about replacing that entire section, that retention wall. I won't take credit for that, but I'll take credit for contacting people. That's one thing that I can do. I was at Luna Pier in a similar situation with the DNR, putting them in contact with the right people. And having the title before my name tends to get some attention, I guess, when I call. I called the MDOT regarding a traffic signal on Telegraph and Dunbar. Very dangerous intersection. There was another wreck about a month and a half ago there. I called MDOT, and I had a meeting with the director of MDOT about that particular traffic signal. Not only him, but 5 of his staffers. And we talked about the left turn, and the next week they sent an engineer down and they adjusted the left turns to be synchronized. So before, I don't know if you're aware of that particular intersection, but you could have a left turn going north, but the left turn on going south is still red or never turns green. And so there are a lot of left turn accidents there. People flying 55, 65 up Telegraph, hitting people that see stop traffic and think they're getting the green arrow. So now both arrows turn green at the same time. It is a big deal to a lot of people that have been in accidents there, but that's something little that I think I can be involved in. So, but I only know what I know as well. So I know I freely give out my cell phone. I will give it out. If there's issues in the township in some way that I can support you guys here, I will do it. And that's my, I want to say guarantee, that's my pledge, is that I'm here to represent not just, Bedford, not just Erie, but the entire district. As I said, I'm hitting every single township in this district, and my goal is to finish mid-August, but I've done now 13, and I'm going to Whiteford as soon as I leave here. My goal is to get out and see people and they know that I'm approachable and that I'm all ears. Otherwise, I don't want to belabor anything. It's been a good meeting.
Do you have any comments, questions?
I appreciate anything. Barring any comments, I'm done.
If you got to run out to another meeting, first, thank you for your service. Congratulations on your retirement. Hip replacement, got any questions, call me. I've had 2 of them.
I went to see Jim Gardner. I was at Luna Pier. Jim Gardner was telling me all about hip replacement and how good it went. And then there was a 78-year-old gentleman there that had hip replacement the week before and was at the township meeting. And that gave me a heck of a lot of hope, seeing I haven't hit 50 yet. I'm still in my 40s, so I'm very optimistic.
First one I was moving around twice as fast as the second one's twice as fast as the first one. And even the first one, though, I was moving pretty quick, but some of that's up here.
I don't have much up there, but yeah.
Anybody else have anything? No? Appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you, Board.
Well,
Thank you.
okay. Ms. Kane, come on up.
Gail Kane, 1056 West Temperance, speaking to number 4. I've had several people say to me that they had knew that there was, they were referencing a concern that there was only one police officer on duty during midnight. So that's a concern when we have, that's a dangerous shift. I'm also looking to get verified by Mr. Pauly, if at all possible, Information given at a DDA meeting that all county deputies will be trained to use the flock plate reader cameras that are being installed at Stearns and Secor. Additionally, during the DDA meeting, Mr. Peroni stated that he fully intends on installing the same cameras at Temperance and Lewis intersection. Now, I would hope that the sheriff can assist in the fact that I'm asking that before that happens, the township demand the road commission change that intersection. The markings that were put on that road with the TAP grant make that intersection unsafe, very unsafe. It is a 2-lane with no turn lane, and it needs to be marked and monitored as such to stop that passing on the left. Also, Mr. Pryor mentioned that some COGs focus on the traffic calming features at the intersections. Yes, sir.
You can do that under the 2-minute.
What's your problem?
To the agenda item.
It is the agenda item.
agenda
I'm
item.
looking, and Mr. Pauly was
No,
going to
it's not the
stay
agenda
so he
item.
could answer my questions.
Stick to the agenda item.
It is
I'm
the
gonna end your
agenda
public
item.
comment.
It's on number 4, and I'm asking
No,
regarding
it's the
these
sheriff's-
lights.
It's his update.
He just gives
Getting
an
into
update.
Lewis Avenue.
Well, and I'm
Nothing
sorry
with the
that I
update.
let the people of
No,
this
you can do
township
that
know
under the
that you're
2 minutes.
making
No, but
promises.
You can do that under the 2-minute.
No, no.
Not this one.
No, I have other things to take care of. in the
Anybody
2
else have any
minutes.
public comment? Okay. All right, moving on to 8A, vouchers for payment.
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $103,099.33. Fire District Fund, $12,714.09. Fire Equipment, $5,069.34. Downtown Development, $3,579.50. Library Operating, $3,356.97. Stony Brook Brookwood SAD, $1,017.50. Building Department, $246.83. Sewer O&M Fund, $1,946.15. Trust and Agency Fund, $145, for a grand total of $131,174.71.
Support.
Okay, motion supported, Ms. Janazek. Any more discussion? Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0. Item 8B, approval to convert a full-time firefighter to part-time status. Chief? Come on up.
Yes, good evening. So we have firefighter Zintek, who is a full-time member currently, looking to go to part-time, essentially is what the request is.
Okay. Anybody have any comments, questions? Okay. I look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the request to move firefighter Jeremy Zintek from current full-time status to part-time firefighter as requested.
Support. Okay, motion supported, Mr. Bruning. Any more discussion? Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Janasek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 6-0.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Chief. Okay. Number 9, comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes. Now you can speak about whatever you'd like.
Oh, yeah, sure. 2 minutes is enough time. All right. Yeah, it's her again. The supervisor at the DDA meeting made a comment, and since they're not televised, they are going to be putting up a sign at the Pearl Albert Park for no rock throwing, despite his mocking Lamar Frederick's concerns at the township meeting for the rocks that are going to be put up front. But from what I can see, it's just gravel roading is all that's up there. He also announced that maintenance is going to be fully in charge of taking care of the Pearl Albert Park. He has been hiring seasonal help for the DDA use versus getting some designated people for the parks and the cemeteries. There's another concern that spraying at the parks and the cemeteries by that SIPMACOG, we pay for it, suggestion
that we're going to be spraying all this stuff that will be killing the weeds and stuff. For people that go to the cemeteries, for the kids that play in the parks, I'm really concerned with that, and I hope our maintenance department has decon showers and eye wash stations, and that they have the proper health coverage for having to work with toxic products. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments. Any more comments?
Lamar Frederick, 3254 Deer Creek Drive. I've been attending a lot of the commissions and committee meetings other than here just to find out what's going on. And I've been attending several of the park board meetings. And so pursuant to Township Board Policy 2.26, because I've been looking at your policies too, public participation, I am addressing the board members individually and collectively. There appears to be a substantial rancor between the park board and here. Whether it's justified or not, it's got to stop. Referring to Township Board Policy 3.26, which says in part, as there is substantial value in independent advice of boards, commissions, and committees to public decision-making process, members of the Township Board shall, not permissive, shall, refrain from using their position to unduly influence the deliberations, outcomes, or recommendation of boards, commissions, and committee proceedings. Interpret that any way you want, but the language is pretty clear. Keep your feet out of the mess kit of the other commissions. And Joe would understand it if he were here. Why not consider, and this is something I'm laying on the table, why not consider a joint meeting between the park board and here and intelligently discuss the issues and the differences that have arisen and hash out a way forward that would benefit this board, benefit the park commission, and then more importantly, the citizens of the community.
For your comments. We appreciate your comments.
Yeah, well.
Any more comments from the public?
No, I'm done. I already said.
Josh, come on up.
Josh Niedercore, 7948 Wiseman Road, Lambertville. I was watching the last park board meeting. There was something said about backdoor deals. I'm not sure what that's about. Someone else in the community asked me about what that was, and I said I'd ask tonight. So if there's some kind of clarification or something, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Any more comments from the public? All right. Mr. Steiner, comments from board members?
Nope, I'm good this evening.
Nothing from me.
Mantra, Mr. Bruning?
Yeah, I would just like to point out for the residents that were here earlier about the SAD. If you guys need to be mad at anyone, you need to be mad at that resident who got you to sign those petitions for that, because none of us here on the board had anything to do with that. And then you had a chance at the first public commentary. We're at the point now we can't do anything. So we are not responsible for that. You had a neighbor who deceived you, and that's who you need to be mad at, not us. Thanks.
Ms. Janczyk?
Tax bills, they were mailed out July 1st. If you have not received yours or if you have questions on yours, please contact my office. One of myself or one of the girls in my department will gladly help you.
Ms. Hirschberger?
Adopt a Road is this weekend, July 20th through the 21st, so please be careful of those cleaning up the roadsides. The governor has signed Proposition 22-2 today, so there will be many changes with election laws coming. I will keep the residents up to date when I have that information. And on a final note, I want to congratulate my daughter and son-in-law, Ashlyn and Chad, for their new baby daughter, Audrielle. That's it.
We said a couple things I was going to say, so I won't repeat them. Tuesday's recycling day. There are times that the health department's a little delayed on coming with a dumpster. Please do not put the bags of trash, or not trash, but recycling, on the ground. Last week there was probably 150 bags covered around the dumpster. The health department spent half of a day coming back here and cleaning it up. Just sit around if you want to sit around and wait 10, 15 minutes, and they will come with a new dumpster. But it's just a lot of problems for the health department when the garbage is put, or like the recycling is put around the dumpsters. So just wait and put it in there. DDA, it has been very difficult over the years keeping companies there. Ones went out of business, and the communication's not the best. So it's just, in my opinion, the best route to go is utilize our maintenance department. It's a township park. The DDA board has budgeted 24 hours a week out of their, what we'll be putting in the budget, but they've committed 24 hours a week. So that's the reason I sent you guys the email about hiring a couple seasonal people. And we're going to maintain it. We'll keep the staff we need to keep up on it. But it just needs to be kept up in better shape. And so if you get over there, a lot of work's been being done with the sprinkler system, was all rooted up. And we got a new retaining rock going at the bottom of the pond. And we are having little signs put up at the pond because there are no cameras over there, as we have here, just to try to hinder people throwing rocks in the water. Because as kids will do when they're at ponds, big difference from a government center with 50 cameras and no ponds. Kids will throw rocks in the water. So we are putting up a few signs. So we're just really going to be mulching out there and getting that park looking really nice. And the pods that you see. Some of the other things, we're doing a little study on more lighting through that area, through Stearns and down Secor. We're going to be looking at more of the lighting. I don't know if we're going to do pods or not, but more actual lamppost lighting. So we're going to be doing a little study on that. We are still waiting on the finalization from Kroger to sign off on the easement. It's been over a year. We understand when you're going through corporate, it takes a long time. So actually both mast arms will probably be installed and bid out at the same time now because, well, that just went up loud, because of the delay from Kroger. So not the end of the world, but other projects we're doing out there, we're bidding out along with that, the concrete approaches. We're going to be fixing all those concrete approaches. And then Township Hall here, we are moving along on getting that not maintenance free, but a little less than maintenance, to where we're not having pole weeds. So we're putting barrier down, and we're going to be putting mulch around the bushes and trees, and then stone, 2 different types of stone. So getting everything looking nice, and the parking lots outside of the cemeteries, Ms. Hertzberger has gotten them out for bid. That work will be done, should be done this year, I would think. We're going to be looking at our parking lot here, replacing a lot of the manholes and getting it restriped and sealed. So yeah, still working on those things. Other than that, things are going very well. Anyone else have any comments, questions? Okay, motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Adjourned.